Hi everyone, in this special lecture, I will demonstrate some specific themes addressed in the book Ethan Frome written by Edith Wharton. This book was one of the most successful books Wharton has written. The rhetorical devices and plots used in the book were fascinating and supported the main themes she tried to show. First, one of the themes addressed in Ethan Frome was that there are consequences that arise as a result of living according to the rules of society. In the book, the protagonist Ethan was a perfect example of this idea. His character and many things he did were chained to all of his life and he could not get away from it. It was as senseless and savage as a physical fight between two enemies in the darkness. In this sentence from the book, the writer clearly described Ethan's mental activity through simile. Ethan wanted to do the things he actually likes to do, but when they are having conflicts with his normal life, he was struggling with which choice he would make. She changed her position, leaning forward to bend her head above her work, so that he saw only the fortune tip of her nose and the streak upward in her hair. In the book, red was usually a symbol of death, but not always. In this quote just mentioned, red was a symbol of love which Ethan fell into. In life, there are things which people do not want to do, but they are supposed to or expected to do. Rules from the society made Ethan to do things carefully and nervously all the time. So when he fell in love with Maddie, he was afraid to do any ambiguous thing to Maddie. He couldn't face this love directly. In the book, it says, he was a prisoner for life, and now his one way of life was to be extinguished. Ethan could not get any happiness from Dina, but he had to stay with her because he needed to. Just like the metaphor being used, he was a prisoner, and he could not run away because he had his own responsibilities to people around him. Many readers think that Ethan was too afraid of everything, just like a quote in the book. Why had he not kissed her when he held her there? Ethan was even afraid to kiss Maddie until the end. However, if Ethan had not experienced all the social stress on him, he would have been braver. Social issues caused him to be like that. In the end, Ethan could not handle any more when Maddie was about to leave. Zena, I've done all I could for you, and I don't see it as being any use. I don't blame you, nor I don't blame myself. Maybe both of us will do better separate. Ethan finally decided to escape with Maddie, but he was still worried about Zena. They stood looking at each other as if the eyes of each were strained to absorb and hold fast the other's image. In the quote, personification was used perfectly to describe how Ethan and Maddie thought at the last moment. Even they dismayed each other while they had to leave. The last thing they could do was to remember each other well. Overall, this tragedy was not anyone's fault. It was just the rules of society had tightened them and forced them to this result. The whole plot supported the main theme, and all of the three's fate was deemed to be destined. No one could escape from it. By the way, here are some quotes in the book which can better explain and support the theme. Dawn was the first theme. One of the other themes mentioned was that love is wonderful, and it gives people motivation to be better and to achieve goals. However, it's not the only thing people have. One has to deal with love correctly along with other aspects. In the book, responsibility was one main factor along with love. On our right, a line of light marked the door of the room which had sent its ray across the night, and behind the door I heard a woman's voice droning chorously. There is a symbol involved in this quote from the book, and it was mainly focused on voice. However, what is voice a symbol of? In the whole book, voice has been so important to Ethan because he feels lonely and not confident with himself. Zena brought him voice once, but right now it already left. Then Maddie was the one who talked to him, which gave him support and happiness. So voice in the book was a symbol of friendship and love which Ethan wanted so much. In the book, it says, the face she lifted to her dancers was the same which, when she saw him, always looked like a window that has caught the sunset. Love brings people energy, and it is a good help to everyone. This piece of simile described how wonderful it was when they first saw each other. Before Ethan had met Maddie, he was demoralized and could not find any enjoyable thing to do. Her tone was so sweet that he took the pie from his mouth and drew his chair up to the table. From this quote above, it is clear that Ethan got motivated when Maddie was there. He was able to feel a sense of happiness. Both bowed to the inexorable truth. They knew that Xena never changed her mind, and that in her case, a resolve once taken was equivalent to an act performed. This quote used metaphor to describe their upset of Xena's decision to get Manny away, and is the starting point of a shift for the theme, from love to responsibility. People have many things to handle, and they can't flinch when they need to face them. In this book, Ethan's responsibilities were to Xena, to the farm, and to himself. When time came for him to make a decision, he chose to accept the responsibility. He knew that he could not live with his own comfort, but to ignore others' feelings. He dragged himself to knees, the monstrous load on him moving with him as he moved, and his hand went over and over her face, and he felt that the twittering come from her lips. This personification in the book described their last kiss. They both knew they got other things to do, so they had to set away this life. Years passed by. Both Ethan and Maddie lived without the other one. They had other responsibilities to carry with. This love between the two would be a wonderful souvenir for their past. And then they got to look ahead to their own future. Here are some other quotes from the text which gave more explanations of the theme. In this book, Horton used many rhetorical devices to make the story sound more interesting, and the themes more persuasive. With these devices and other quotes, readers are able to understand her expression clearly. Ethan Frome gives a detailed reflection of the actual world, which is thought-provoking to all people.